don't need a high-end designer or a lot of money to get a luxe look. Be your own interior designer.
This is Affordable Interior Design, the podcast.
Here's your host, Betsy Helmuth.
My next question is from Tiffany. Tiffany's writing from Perth in Western Australia. Hi, Betsy. I really enjoy listening to your podcast and the questions people send in. I would love you to cast your eye over my husband's and my bedroom. We have based the room and its colors around the Jack Vettriano print that we love. It's called Dance Me Till the End of Love, which, as you can see, is a very moody piece of artwork. It has grays, whites, and blues. I've painted the walls a deep gray color. The room has 3 windows, which is so nice and so bright. I would really like to update my doona cover. I don't know if that's Australian or if you mean duvet cover, and possibly repaint the walls. So my question to you, which colors would you recommend to complement our artwork, but also to freshen the space? I'm really excited to hear your suggestions and your point of view. Thank you so much, Tiffany. P.S. I've attached 2 images of the room and a close-up of the artwork and a close-up of the doona pattern cover. Okay, so I guess you did mean doona, and I don't know what that means, but I'm just going to assume it's duvet. So Tiffany, I really appreciate you sitting in these pictures because it definitely illuminates the situation and makes it quite clear to me what's going on. Just as I did with Ranae's question, I'm going to be giving you a story from my own life to illustrate how you can fix your bedroom. Okay? So by the time I finish my story, you should have all the tips you need to make your own conclusions on what you need to do. And if you don't, then I'll tell you just what to do. How does that sound? Okay, ready for story time, Tiffany? So my husband and I moved into our house, as you know, 6+ years ago. Every room in my house is super colorful, mid-century modern, fun, playful, except my bedroom, which I wanted to be transitional and subdued and chic. My husband and I both adore Paris. It is a very special place for us where we've been together many times. I decided, in fact, I'd had my eye on for many years, this amazing piece of art from Ballard Designs, which is a big 36 by 36 square photograph of the rooftops of Paris. Now, if you're familiar with Paris, you know that the rooftops are kind of this slate navy color, and the actual architecture is kind of an off-white. There's a lot of gray, but that's generally the color palette. So if you're taking a picture of all the roofs, it's going to be gray, off-white, kind of blue, much like the picture that you're showing me. So I decided to base the entire color palette for my room on this amazing large piece of art that would be centered above our king-size bed. I picked a gray bed, I picked navy drapes, I picked a navy velvet quilt. I had sheets that have like this really cool gray pattern, and then I painted the walls an icy blue. Well, as you may or may not know, I love feng shui. So after a few years in our home, I had this colleague who was really into feng shui, and she said, I'd love to come over to your house and give you a free sort of assessment. I was like, oh, well, that sounds fun. So she came over and she gave me an assessment of our house, pointing out things that I could do differently to have better feng shui. And then she comes in the bedroom and she says, whoa, can I ask a personal question? And I was like, sure, yeah, go ahead. And she says, how are things going intimately, with your husband? Things good? I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, she was a colleague, but I didn't know her that way. I was like, well, they're calmer than they could be, right? I'm sure he would like a little more fire. And, we're just very subdued at this point and things are just subdued. And she said, of course they are. You have only cool colors and neutral colors in this room. Every other room has a balance of warm and cool, vibrant and subdued. This room is only subdued. I can tell you what's going on in your marriage just by looking at the feng shui in this room. Is it chilly? Is it boring? Is it subdued? She said, you need to bring some fire into this room. If we're thinking in terms of elements, right? You need to bring some life into this room. There's not even a plant in here. And the minute she said that, I was like, oh my goodness. That very night, I went online to Wayfair and I purchased a 9x12 rug that had hot pink. Of course, it had navy and gray so that it still went with the core elements in the room. But the primary tone of this rug is hot pink because I wanted to bring the fire. I hired the handyman to come over and put that under my bed. I got a lumbar pillow that had pops of pink. Immediately, my room not only felt more balanced, but I felt more inspired to be warmer with my husband, if you get my drift. Additionally, I brought in some bamboo stalks. Our bedroom does not get a lot of natural light. It's a pretty dark room. So luckily, stalks of bamboo thrive in sort of negligent conditions. And I got just the right number to inspire romance. If you look online, you can Google like what number of bamboo stalks mean what certain, what am I trying to say? Like there's a certain number that correlates with a feeling or something that you want to bring into your life. And so I got just that number to inspire romance and connection, put them in a vase, and they were thriving. And all of a sudden, so was my marriage. Let me just say your room right now, and guys, if you are looking at this on YouTube, you can see that it is so neutral. Icy gray walls, right? The inspiration picture being this, image of this couple looking away in this very cold, icy looking sort of color palette is not going to be ideal to inspire fire and connection. I would recommend that you choose an inspiration piece that has both warm and cool colors. And it doesn't mean that you have to get rid of this piece. I still have the 36 by 36 picture of the Paris rooftops above our bed. But it means that the inspiration piece is no longer that artwork. Instead, the inspiration piece from which I'm deriving the color palette for my entire room is that lovely 60% hot pink rug. So I want you to find a different piece, whether it's drapes, whether it's a rug, whether it's a duvet or doona cover, right? I want you to find something that has some of those warmer colors to infuse this space not only with balance, but with a romance. Tiffany, you see, my story can be your story, and I can solve all your problems with my own personal pain. A big thank you to Aton and the Embassy who wrote our theme song. A shout out to Catherine Heller who owns the podcast shop and is our editor extraordinaire. We also want to thank Ginny Sunasan and her team at the Savvy Podcast Agency for their help with our social, our YouTube channel, and so much more. We also want to thank Uploft, which is our parent company who supports this podcast. And lastly, we owe a huge debt of gratitude to you. Thank you so much for tuning in and for all your support.